your values. You've got them in line, but your behavior's in line with your values. And you're living a better life. And it is more effective than to go and make amends. But you can make amends first. Some people won't take you seriously. They'll want to see it. Most people will want to see it. You want to make amends to somebody, change your life, and show them.
Now, I might be backtracking, but how do you break the habits and the steps? Like how do you break it?
Okay. You got to go to treatment.
Plain and simple. No way around it, right?
Yeah, I mean, so many times.
Even for functional? You would say functional addicts too?
Well, that's a good question. I would have to do a full psychosocial on them. I would have to assess them. I can't just kind of shove everyone in a broad category. I don't think my grandparents could have gave up alcohol without getting dry. It's very dangerous to detox yourself, right? So, let's look at it from the danger standpoint. If you're going to come off of alcohol, years of alcohol drinking, you need to do it in a treatment facility. But secondary is breaking that habit, right? So let's just use my grandparents as an example. Let's say they both go to treatment and they detox for 14 days. So they get over the physical symptoms and the physical withdrawal of coming off of alcohol, which is extreme. It's very hard to do. Now they go home after 14 days, and now they're back in that same element, and they have not had a chance to rebuild any new routines or any new habits. So what happens is what's called a spiral downward. Because you go back into the same environment that you went into, that you were in pre-treatment. You go back into that same environment. Your brain gets stressed out. When your brain gets stressed out, it decreases the amount of serotonin in the prefrontal cortex, which is where you make critical decisions. And it needs that serotonin to make critical decisions, to think creatively, to think outside the box, to create new routines and habits. So what happens is another system of your brain that can make decisions notices that the serotonin is not being made in the prefrontal cortex. It recognizes that, and it's called the striatum. And the striatum, let's think of, I use a football analogy here. So the quarterback throws the football to the striatum and says, you make decisions. But the thing is, the striatum only makes decisions on what routines, habits, and compulsions that it knows. So you're already setting yourself up to relapse, because now your striatum is controlling your thinking, and it just knows to make decisions on what routines it knows. Well, it knows to go get a beer at 5 o'clock. Now, let's say you do that one time, you go get a beer, and you're like, oh gosh, I'm going right back into it. Well, then your amygdala senses the stress, and your amygdala takes care of emotions and stress and fight or flight, exploration. Well, it starts to get squeezed under pressure and further reduces the amount of serotonin to the prefrontal cortex. So it's a vicious cycle downward. And that's why you have a 1 out of 12 chance when you leave treatment. You have a 8% chance of actually doing it. Now, I know that didn't answer the question regarding can functional addicts
stop. But that definitely broke down everything, because I mean, no, you did answer that question though. Because
they're going to fall for the same. They're going to fall for, their brain is going to do the same thing that a non-functional addict does, right, unless they have very well established new habits and routines before they go home.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So that's what's called the transition. So you're transitioning from treatment back into the real life. The worst thing you can do is sit down and do nothing, right? So I always say you need to seek achievement, pleasure, reward, and fellowship on a daily basis. So if you're seeking achievement on a daily basis, you're seeking that reward, you're seeking pleasure, and you're going out and you're doing healthy fellowship. Not the people you hang out with when you're drinking, not the people you hang out with when you're drugging. You're at least doing something. You're starting to build those new routines and habits. So it is very important for people that leave treatment. And nobody gets taught that. Nobody gets taught that. That's, well, unique to my program, I guess.
So you got to be fully committed to yourself in this process, too.
Yeah. Yes. And how hard is it to love yourself after 7 years of destroying other people's lives because of your selfish addiction? And that's the way it's looked at. I put the word selfish in there because that's what's going through the mindset of the newly clean person. Wow, have I done some horrible things? I'm a horrible person. And I got to get out here and try to stay clean. And, let's not even throw in any kind of trauma, early childhood trauma, or, family members that drug and drink, so you got to stay away from family. Yeah, it's, your habits and routines will have to, you got to look at your relationships. Number one, what habits and routines are you going to build around your relationships? Who do you need to get out of your life immediately? Your professional life. So I kind of take a life coaching approach to it, right? When you're life coaching, you life coach people in their career, their finances, their environment, their set themselves, and their relationships, those 5 aspects. The same thing has to happen when you're recovery coaching. You have to help those people in those 5 areas. And so my program is designed to mix in the recovery coaching with habits and routines around those 5 areas.
And the beautiful thing about recovery programs and recovering just in general on, coming out of an addiction, the beautiful thing, if he was 10 years an addict, it's not going to take 10 years to get on the right foot. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's not like serving a jail sentence, like, oh, okay, you did 20 years of being on this, so you darn sure going to have to do 20 years of reprogram. Am I correct? That's the beauty of it. That's an excellent point, because your life, if you invest in it and get a sponsor, get a recovery coach, do some kind of recovery program, your new life can start right away. Awesome. Right away. You can start rebuilding yourself. You can rebrand yourself. We all brand ourselves nowadays, right? I did a curriculum with some middle school youth that needed further after-school programming during the summer months. So it was 6 weeks, and it was called Campaigning for Your Future. I designed the whole curriculum, and it was teaching these young kids how to brand themselves, how to walk up and shake the teacher's hand, and say, I'm going to pass this class. And track the teacher, nod your head like you're listening to the teacher, and raise your hand and ask one question. And studies show their grade will go up 1 grade. And they don't even have to do anything different.
all they have to do is just nod their head at the teacher with a smile. I mean, you can brand yourself all over again. That's the beautiful thing about yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, I was a homeless veteran. I mean, I was, I had done nothing for the first 35 years of my life. And I've had the most productive 12 years of my life. And it doesn't have to be unique to me. That's what I'm out here telling people. It does not have to be unique to me. This doesn't have to be one person's story. It could be everyone's story.
That's awesome. That's awesome. This I learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot, and I thank you for sharing with us. We're going to do a part 2 this coming Thursday, audience, and we're going to be honored to learn more from Shawn.
And they won't have to hear my story.
Huh?
They won't have to listen to my story. We can jump right in next time.
But it was definitely an amazing story. I think that story in itself was just a lesson too, as well. I won't take the power away from that. Testimony, it always serves a level of power. So that's awesome. That's awesome that you have gotten over the hurdle of fear, like just hearing that process and letting people know that, it's a hurdle that can be calmed down, And
absolutely.
you find that inner peace in order to get through that. You really do. You really do.
I love the inner peace. I love it.
Yes. Well, this concludes our episode, part 1, on the recovery program. We covered habits and routines, and tune in this Thursday as we dive in deeper on another topic under the recovery program. Shawn, thank you for being on here. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It has.
All right, this closes ER, Emotional Response Podcast.